Hey guys, how's it going? So I wanted to talk about video game collecting in particular and how I got into that and what my goals are and what my tactics are for collecting and just kind of give an overview of that. So I've been a gamer for a long time. I've been a gamer for most of my life, basically. My earliest memory that I have of life at all was playing the Atari 2600. So games and I have gone together quite a bit, which is a great thing. Now, collecting video games is not something that I've done for a long time. That's pretty new. When I was younger, I had no attachment to the game itself. I would play a game that just completely blew my mind, and the next day I would be selling it, trying to get a new one because there was just no attachment for me. It didn't seem to matter. So it wasn't until recently, I would say probably 3 years ago maybe, that I began sort of collecting. And the first thing I started kind of collecting were consoles. There were a whole lot of retro consoles that had a few games a piece at least that I really wanted to play. So I was like, ooh, the Super Nintendo has this game and that game, Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VI, and I would love to have that. And oh man, there's some other good games that I would like to play too. Like it'd be cool to have the original Mario Kart, and my wife really likes playing Super Mario World, so that would be great. And then got into the original NES, and I'm like, ooh, I want to play Mega Man, and I want to kind of try a lot of these older games that I never got to play because I was playing the Sega Genesis so much. And then, of course, I got to the Sega Genesis. I'm like, oh, wow, I want to play all these games that I used to have. And, the progression just continued. It was, I had a GameCube. That was the one console that somehow made it through. And it really wasn't even mine to begin with. It was actually someone else's, and somehow I inherited it. So, yeah, that was cool. Since then, I moved on to, the N64 and the Xbox, and of course the PS2 and the PS1. We used to call it PSX, by the way, so I like to call it the PSX. I know that that's a point of contention, but god damn it. Like, when I was a kid, we went to psxextreme.com, and that was a forum that I was a part of for a long time on that website, and, the thing was called the PSX. You always called it the PSX. And I know that there's the PSX that was released in Japan, which was like some version of the PS2. So anytime that nowadays you call it the PSX, people jump on you and act like you're stupid. But that's historically the way that we would call it. So whatever. Sorry, that's just like a little annoying thing that I've been wanting to talk about a little bit. Dreamcast, Sega Saturn. So anyways, I moved on to collecting a bunch of different consoles. I got some handhelds too, and from there, it has just kind of become this thing. I started, getting into a lot of YouTube channels like the Game Chasers and different things where people were collecting old games. And when I would see people collect old games, I would see them play the games and talk about the games, and it would make me like, oh, I want to play that. I want to try that. And then also, I have to talk about just collecting in general. So, I've always liked collecting things. It has been a while since I had something specific that I collected. When I was younger, I collected coins. That was really fun. I didn't have like an amazing collection or anything, but I did have a few cool coins that, especially as a kid, I just thought were awesome. Also, when I was a kid, of course, Pokemon cards, we collected a lot. I, at one point, probably 4 years ago, got a little bit heavy into Magic the Gathering. That was kind of fun. And that wasn't as much collecting, I wouldn't say, as it was just I amassed a good bit of cards because I was buying booster boxes and stuff like that. So anyways, I like collecting. For me too, there was a big jump though because gaming and collecting are so different. And in order to collect, you don't have to play the games. You can decide that you want an entire NES collection, and you can buy all of them, and the point can be collecting. Some people have a really hard time with that. For me, I have to keep them separate. Like, there are some games that I buy specifically to play, and they will then go into my collection. And then there are games that I buy specifically for my collection. And the other cool thing about video game collecting for me is there's always a potential to play them. So I like that, you know, at any point and at any time, if I'm in the mood for a particular system or a particular game, I can just come into my game room and be like, you know, I never played that game, I'm gonna try it. And I've done that many times, and sometimes I find really good games that way that I never would have played otherwise. And that's really, really fun for me. So that's a part of collecting games that I like. One part of collecting games that isn't as much fun is that, especially for the retro consoles, like the NES and the Super NES, it's really, really gotten expensive. I, of course, got into it kind of late, you know, a couple years ago, probably 2014. So, you know, I never was a part of the awesome deals that people could get. Like, it's always been kind of expensive. It's only gone up since I've been in it. People talk about there maybe being a retro gaming bubble burst, and that would be awesome for me because if the prices go down, then I can pick up the games. For me, it's not about the value of the games. It's about having something fun to collect. Like, yeah, it's really fun if you happen to have something and you find out that it's worth, you know, some money, but at the same time, it's not like I'm going to sell them anyways. So, yeah. That kind of brings me to my more recent point, which is collecting for the PlayStation 2, and more recent consoles is something that's come more to the forefront of my mind lately. So a lot of people are still really hung up on wanting to collect old games for old systems. And one thing that I can definitely understand is it's fun to collect cartridges. There's just something about cartridges, I get it. But at the same time, like, the reason that people, you know, have so many amazing, awesome Nintendo and Super Nintendo and N64 game libraries is that they did it when it was inexpensive. So, like, right now, what's inexpensive is, you know, the original PlayStation isn't too bad most of the time. PS2 is definitely not bad. Original Xbox isn't bad. GameCube is a little bit higher, but it's still not, like, crazy. So it's fun if you can, plus it's a little bit easier to actually stumble on these games in the wild. Like, you can go to Goodwill and you're way more likely to find a PlayStation 2 game than you are to find a Genesis game or a original Nintendo game. That does happen sometimes, and that's awesome, but, you know, that's the other thing with collecting too that I have to say. Like, I can't put any hard and fast rules on it. I can't be like, I'm only collecting PS2 games, because you never know what you're going to find. Like, if you go to a yard sale and they have a bunch of N64 games that are a great deal, you're not going to pass them up just because, oh, I'm focusing on my PS2 collection right now. Some people maybe do that. That's not how I work. So, collecting for me is very loose. It's very much just for fun. Like, I don't know, I'm not going to get stressed out over video game collecting. And the other thing that I would have to say is I will always be a gamer first. So, you know, some people, I think, definitely move heavier into collecting than they do with gaming. And that's totally fine. Like, I don't care what anybody wants to do. If they don't like to game that often, but they love collecting the games just because of nostalgia or whatever, just because it's something to collect, that's cool. For me, I have to always be spending more time. This is just a rule for myself. I always have to be spending more time gaming than I do on, you know, searching for retro games or whatever. Sometimes it goes in spurts. Sometimes I spend more energy on collecting and looking up videos and looking up values and going out hunting and all that stuff. But in general, I would say that the gaming is more important to me. So that's just a little bit of an overview of me and how I kind of do this whole gaming and collecting thing. So let me know what you guys think. If anyone wants to do a video response, that's cool, or leave a comment or whatever. I like hearing what other people do, especially people that are like me, interested in the hobby. And so, all right, guys, I guess that's all. I will talk to you later. Peace out. Jabber Game and Jaws. Later.